Okay, if you guys can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Thumbs up if you can hear me all right. Or make a comment in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. Jumping on here in a minute, just getting our audio and video set up. Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. Or number one. Give me a thumbs up or a number one if you can hear me. Thumbs up or a number one if you can hear me. Loud and clear, Peggy says. Thank you, Peggy. Okay, and we're just getting the last little video set up. W's in the chat. I can see the comments. I can hear the audio. I don't know if I can get the video. We're working on just 1 second, guys. We'll be here just a second. Okay, you guys give me a heart if you can hear me and see me. Let me know if you guys can hear me and see me. I don't think we've got Facebook. For some reason, we got disconnected from Facebook. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, hopefully you guys can connect that way. Can you give me a heart? Give me a thumbs up, guys, if you guys can hear me. I appreciate that. Okay, you can hear me. Answer me. Peter Lou says you can hear me. See, that's all I needed. Peter Lou, you're the man. Appreciate you. I'm going to jump on and bring in Naveen, add him to the stage. Let's see if we've got him on here.
Are you guys getting audio feedback at all? Because we got a little bit on our end. We just want to make sure we got this thing set up correctly. Then I have just let's see, solo. Here we go. I'll be looking. You guys, any feedback, like, or any echo or anything like that? We got a little bit of echo on our end, but Kevin says all good. You can see us loud and clear. All right, I'm going to check that camera angle one more time real quick, Naveen. Appreciate you guys. We don't have a full studio team, so we're doing this kind of as we go. I just want to get that down a little bit better. Perfect. And turn that down all the way.
Maybe even just mute it. So, can you guys still hear me there? Everything good? I think we're good. Can you guys still hear me? All right. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a heart. Give me a like if you're watching. Where are you guys watching from, by the way? I don't know how this is streaming. Is it streaming on YouTube? Is it giving you guys? Naveen's gonna grab his sweater. It is getting a little chilly in here. Where are you guys? Peggy says you're getting feedback. Are you guys still getting feedback? Can you hear me great? Okay, Jack says he can hear me great. Doug says he's watching from StreamYard. I guess that makes sense. Guys, I've never done this before in this format, so you're going to have to bear with me. if it's a little bit herky-lurky, but I do have my good friend Naveen here. He's in studio with me, and so we're actually in this conference room. I hope that the audio is okay. Naveen, why don't you just speak up from where you're at, because you're going to be sitting there. Just make sure everybody can hear you okay.
Can everyone hear me pretty decent?
Can everybody hear him? Peggy?
Everybody hear me okay?
I'm seeing that Leyland says good to go. So Peggy, I think the audio issues might be on your end. So I'm just gonna let you deal with that. And then, okay, we're good. Peggy says loud and clear now. So I am going to get started by trying to remember to direct my attention to you guys on that camera right there. This is really, man, you know, those people that do this stuff professionally, they make it look super easy. And I am not a professional. And so I'm just going to just let everybody know that disclaimer, full stop. Don't be too hard on me, okay? And Naveen is, you know, I don't know, you're a social media guy, so you're a little more used to camera time, but this is definitely a little bit above and beyond what we're normally used to. Jack says audio was bad. It's great now. Naveen just put this out here. Text the questions. He's got a phone number there. You guys can drop your questions in the chat, or if you want to make sure it gets to Naveen, he's got a separate number there. He's gracious to use his Google chat number or whatever it is, and so he'll be getting that and be giving us questions. This is pretty much unscripted in the sense that we're not going off a script. We have really not talked at all about the kind of questions you're going to be asking me, and we definitely don't know what everyone else is going to be asking. So why don't you just tell a little bit, Naveen, as we're getting started, tell us a little bit about, I guess, and I don't know if I should give you permission to say this or not, but about how you and I first connected. Why don't you give us a little update on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And speak up nice and loud, dude, just in case people have a hard time hearing you.
For sure. No, for sure. So I'm a social media guy. I don't know if I should be looking at them or you.
Yeah, just look at me. But if you want to, you can look at them. They're going to be over there in that little black hole.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Basically, I'm a social media guy, and I make content with my family, that kind of thing. And I was super focused on building my business for a while, right? But it got kind of tiring. And one of the big reasons for that is that in my industry, if you don't have a product and you're just making content, there's a residual element, but then it becomes this hamster wheel of like, got to make content in order to, in order to survive.
Yeah.
And, as I'm looking at different industries to move into to kind of create more longevity, I'm trying to learn more about real estate and stocks and all of these things, really for years, right? Not really having full knowledge on what direction I want to pursue, intentionally.
Yeah.
And so then when I decide, okay, well, I'm going to go in the real estate direction, I've kind of already done a lot of research, been reading. I got family that's in real estate, that kind of thing. And we talked a little bit about that. I go to Pace's group and I post a post about trying to find buyers. I think that's what it was. I was trying to find buyers, and somebody put your name in the comments, because I don't think you actually put it there.
I just want to stop and say, does anybody know what Naveen was doing whenever he put that post in there about, hey, what was the post? You remember it was something like, I've got money, or I'm looking for buyers. You were going to try to like build a buyer's list. Is that what you were doing?
Yes.
Okay.
So right. I had taken one of Pace's like challenges before. Like,
yeah.
I think it was called the Elephant Challenge or something. But it was a few years ago.
Yep.
So I remembered him telling us, that if we wanted to do this like bird dogging thing or whatever, that we needed to like build a buyer's list.
So you guys know what a buyer's list? Chat, give me a 1, because right now I can't tell if you guys are here or not. I'm going to really need you guys to help me out with the chat. So keep some comments going. Give us a 1. Give me some thumbs up. Give me some hearts, because I don't necessarily know that I can see all of your. Okay, good. Because if I don't see the comments or some feedback going, then guys, I'm going to think that we lost audio or the internet went down or something. And I definitely don't want to sit here and talk. As much as I like Naveen, he wants to get home to his family. I want to get home to mine as well. So you guys help us not to waste time. So you guys give us a 1 in the chat, in the comments, if you know what Naveen was doing whenever he says, I was trying to build a buyer's list. Give me a 1 there. So Naveen, sorry, go ahead. You were trying to build a buyer's list.
Yeah. So I'm trying to build this buyer's list, and I get like 10, 11 comments, but some of the comments were people saying like, hit me up. Others were people commenting other people's names.
Okay.
One of the names was yours.
Okay.
And you were asking, what did that look like?
How did we end up meeting?
Basically, I messaged John and I say, hey, something to the effect of like, hey, I'd really love to sit down and talk more about, your business and see if there's areas I can provide value in, or something to that effect. And John
graciously said, yes, of course, Naveen. I'd love to. Is that what happened?
Well, no, it's not what happened. John was like, I'm honestly too busy, man. Like I don't know what this is. And my message was vague, and intentionally so. And I did explain that afterwards, but
yeah.
John was like, man, honestly, you're not really telling me what you're here for. And it's kind of vague. So I'm a little busy. And so then I could kind of see that he was open based on what I saw. I saw in the message. It felt like he was open, but it just felt like I didn't approach him the way that I needed to approach. And I'm a sales guy. I'm a communicator. So it was like, okay, this guy needs more out of the dialogue than, the way I was trained to kind of get people's attention was,
right.
Lead with something that's a bit more open-ended to see if there's interest there, and then kind of, see where the needs are, and then communicate that, that way. So I'm talking to John and I'm like, hey buddy, I'm this, that, and this, I've got these kind of accomplishments. And typically what I like to do, is leverage what I do in order to be able to start, cool relationships with awesome people.
Yeah.
And so then John's like, well, let's sit down and eat. And then,
well, you're making me sound better than I did. I basically like shut you down hard. Like I was like, bro, I ain't got time for just, tire kicking people, DMing me, hey, I want to learn about real estate. So right. I folks, I have to admit, I was pretty hard on this guy out the gate. And then he came back so graciously and he was just like, yeah, I get it, man. Business is tough. You got to stay focused. And then I felt about that big because I was like, man, I kind of broke a little bit out of my norm, which my norm is always to be like, say yes to everybody about everything, right? I want to help everybody. But as a business owner in 2024, I really began to start focusing. And I want to talk a little bit about what my focus was, how it led to what we're doing tonight. As a business owner, I was really starting to try to get hyper-focused on what was my big, Pace Morby talks about for an owners club that I'm in. He's to talk about what's your Mount Everest. This is like your 5-year out there goal.
Right.
And so I was like, I got to stop saying yes to basically everybody that comes along and says, I want to learn something about real estate. I got to stay focused on my goals. So I shut him down pretty hard. He came back super humble, which I gotta give it to you, man. Appreciate that. And
love everybody, man.
Yeah,
love
and then I was like, okay, I definitely got to sit down and give this guy some of my time. And during that conversation, I think you asked me I think you were asking me about leads or something like that. Do you remember how that went?
Yeah, we somewhere in our discourse about just where we both are in our real estate journey, I was just talking about the different ways that I was planning on going about, doing REI, and getting my foot in the door through wholesaling and that kind of thing. And then, and as you had mentioned before, it was like basically nose to the grindstone, and it's just a sprint, right? It's a sprint there's a marathon element there, but to get things going, I just started sprinting.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, the best way that I've found, is actually none of that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so that's kind of how a lot of this started. Where do you want me to go from here?
Well, I guess just to check in with everybody on what we've been talking about so far. The question that I have for you guys is, how many of you have been struggling with, or at least maybe you are conscious of the fact that it's not easy to get highly motivated? Let me back up and just say this. You guys do understand the difference. Give me a 1 in the chat. Okay, I just testing again. Give me a 1 in the comments if you understand that there is a difference between a lead and a deal. Give me a 1 in the chat if you understand there's a difference between a lead and a deal. I want to see if we're getting some feedback. Make sure we're still connected here. There's a huge difference between a lead and a deal, right? Now, I always say it like this, you can't get a deal unless you have a lead. But let's talk about what kind of leads usually turn into a deal. What's the leads that transfer from just being, as Pace said, a suspect, a prospect, then it turns into a lead. The leads that keep moving down that, absolutely, Amy's got it. Suspect, prospect, and deal. So suspect, prospect, then it becomes a lead, which we take it and actually turn it into a deal or a transaction. And so actually Doug says there's a difference between a deal and a transaction. That's actually very true. So Josh here has this suspect, prospect, lead, contract, absolutely critical, and then it turns into a deal or a transaction. So and what I think what Doug is referring to, maybe he can elaborate in the comments if I get it wrong, but I think what Doug is saying is you just because you have a deal doesn't mean you've actually have a transaction yet, right? So but just for the sake of this quick conversation, the leads that turn into deals that hopefully turn into transactions are always going to be highly motivated seller leads. So something that is different between a highly motivated seller lead and just a regular lead would be, I'm curious if you guys give me an example in the comments of what would just a normal lead would look like. Let's just say a lead that you can actually have, you actually have a lead, but is this a motivated lead? Give me an example of a lead that's not a motivated lead. Any example? I'm going to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
What's a lead that is really not a highly motivated lead in the sense that where do we get this lead from?
In my mind, I guess with the little experience that I have, a lead that would be not necessarily as motivated would be someone who they're not really in enough of a financial or emotional constraint, when it comes to the property to be pushed to sell. So, for example, I was on the phone with my big bro who is in real estate investing. He's a real estate investor in the Southeast, and he had a woman who unfortunately, was dealing with some domestic abuse in a property, and she was financially well off, but she handed him the keys and was like, "Yeah, you do something with it."
Gotcha.
And for her, the emotional trauma attached to the property made her highly motivated, even though financially she's not. It wouldn't matter whether or not she got rid of the property.
That's such a good point, because I think a lot of real estate investors, especially getting started out, tend to think that the only motivation is if the house is distressed or in pre-foreclosure or something, which a lot of times it doesn't have to be a distressed property. It can be a distressed seller, a distressed owner. So in that case, going back here to the comments, Doug, absolutely right. Not all transactions are good deals. Exactly right. So here's somebody else, an example of Timothy says, a home that just came up on a pre-foreclosure list from a title company. Okay, let's talk about that for just a second. And I don't want to spend too much time, but I do want to I want to help understand why what we're going to talk about with legacy leads is so important. Because let's talk about that house that just came up on pre-foreclosure list that Timothy mentioned. That that property coming up on a pre-foreclosure list means that every investor in the area now has, now knows there's 123 Main Street, with, John and Jane Smith that are in pre-foreclosure. Just about everybody, in town that has any gumption is going to be going out, and they're going to be trying to get, one of these flyers, right? If you guys have seen those before, here's my flyer. I know that thing is hard to miss, right? Look at that thing; it's bigger than my head. So I like to get these out.
Yellow's the color of
Yep,
attention.
yellow. We get that. I got my yellow and blue here. Postcards. So the thing is, and same thing what Leland says with the nod notice of default list, the nod list. You guys, please understand that I'm not saying that these are not good leads. I'm just saying we don't really know what the level of motivation is. Even if they're in a distressed situation, everybody and their brother, in your case, maybe truly your brother might be out there looking for those properties, right? Because somebody has kind of waved the flag and said, "Hey, I'm in trouble." Now maybe they didn't do it intentionally, but their property has alerted every investor in the area that there's a problem there. So I just wanted to kind of go through that real quickly. If that makes sense, you guys give me a thumbs up or a 1 or a 2, or give me some kind of number in, either, I wish I could see you guys. We're going to have to start going to Zoom because I can't see anybody. And I don't know if I lost you guys, but we'll do that next time. But give me a 1 in the chats or in the comments if that makes sense. Like when you talk about leads, you got to talk about motivation is a big one. And then not only motivation, but who knows about these leads? Because if it's truly a motivated lead, there's a pretty good chance that almost everybody and their brother is going to be looking at it. Now, you and I have talked about this before. What's one way to get those motivated leads without everybody else and their brother getting it before you do? What's one way that off the top of your head, just something that you can do to get those leads first before anybody else does?
I mean, are you talking about that way, or are you talking more?
Yeah, no, different. Like just no, without say we didn't know anything about legacy leads. What's something that a lot of people will pay, investors, especially if they have the budget for it? What will they do to cause those leads to come to them before they go to anybody else?
Oh, the paid advertising.
There you go.
I mean, that's what I've found in just business in general. In the last, I'd say, it's probably been true for a long time, but in the last at least 5 to 7 years, when it comes to modern businesses, is that you pay to play. And if you get on one of the social networks and you get access to the largest pool of people paying attention to something on the internet, that's how you're going to grow. The majority of businesses, nowadays, I think that's obviously driving the price of everything up. But
so we talked about this the other day, or I did rather, that your cost per click, depending on the area that you're doing your marketing in, if you take like Boise, if you take Portland, especially Seattle, or you get back east, like some of the higher densely populated places, that cost per click. I don't know if anybody has any ideas. Drop in the comments if you have an idea of how much the cost per click is for like a Google pay-per-click, Google PPC, We Buy Houses or John Buys Houses. I'm just curious if you guys have any idea. Drop it in the comments if you know how much the cost per click is.
My bro told me, he told me when I was asking him, and I'm like, should I go the PPC direction? Because he said, because that's how he does, he gets deals.
Okay.
Right. He has a guy who has his own agency that runs Google PPC and YouTube ads.
Yeah.
And he said that he's paying anywhere from $200 to $700.
There you go. Per click.
Right.
So Josh has got it here, 200 to 400. Tanya Marshall says 500. Peggy Stevens, a lot. That's no joke. So I've actually done this, and I mentioned this the other day. The reason I came to love the legacy leads so much, and we're going to talk about that, is because I've literally done every form of marketing that there is for motivated sellers. I have nailed up bandit signs in the middle of the night. I have done mailers. I have done door knocking. I've done pay-per-click. I've done Facebook ads. I've done, what do you call it? Organic. I put stuff on Craigslist. I put stuff on Facebook Marketplace until my account got flagged. I've gone into the local, buy and sell and trade Facebook groups and made posts. I mean, I've literally done it all. And I've done cold calling campaigns, texting campaigns. And the reality is, as someone said this, and it really helped me understand it, do you know which marketing campaign works the best?
I have no idea.
The one that you do the most and the one you do consistently. It's a trick question, but it's just you do marketing consistently, and you pick one and you get really, really good at it. That's what typically turns out to be the best investment as far as your time. In other words, you can generate leads even organically. I see Amy put in here that she said our first deal was from a Facebook post I made. The person was tired of being a landlord. Yeah, so tired landlords, very big. She made a Facebook post. Okay, now here's the thing. Peggy says, have you prayed? Okay, yes, I actually have prayed for leads before. So, and I can say that prayer does work, but I don't know if I always feel like I'm praying for the right things when I come and ask God for a lead. But the thing is, like Amy put in this Facebook post, yes, just do that consistently. Now, here's what happens. People kind of either get used to seeing you out there or they get tired of seeing you out there, but you can absolutely generate traffic anytime, if you just do the thing consistently. So what ended up happening was about 4 years ago I've been doing real estate investing for 6 years, and I've been, flipped, dozens and dozens of homes in the Portland market. I started actually doing wholesaling while I was flipping. I started doing Airbnbs while I was doing all that. I mean, I went all in on real estate, right? And after about 6 years of trying this, trying that, trying everything, I eventually got to the place where I was like, man, I either have to be prepared to spend a gob of money and spend it like regularly, right? So this is me. I ran some Facebook ad campaigns to get just a basic Facebook ad campaign, paid sponsored ads that produced enough, leads to really make it worth it. I figured I had to go 90 days. I had to do a 90-day minimum Facebook ad campaign. I had to plan on spending at least $3,000 a month on that was for a Facebook ads manager, like basically someone to create the ad that knows all the nuances of what Facebook looks for and what they will reject. I had to spend about $1,000 a month on them, and then I had to plan on spending about $2,000 a month on what they call ad spend, right? Yeah. And so $3,000 a month, by the time you do the setup fee and then do the management for 3 months, you're in it for 10 grand, right?
I ran a marketing company just like that.
Okay.
For life insurance agents.
So am I off?
No, you're absolutely accurate. Mine was I would average about $3,500 per client plus ad spend. So.
Plus ad spend. Yep. So guys, if you've never done this before, if you really want to generate a big, massive influx of leads, and I've done that before. Mm-hmm. The problem is what I would do is I get a whole bunch of leads in the pipeline, then I have to go shut off my ad campaign, or I'd run out of ad spend. Then I go filter through all those and usually generate a couple of good deals, right? Transactions, actual closed transactions. And then I was like, okay, now I got to go back to the drawing board, set the whole thing up again, do the deal right. And so, you look at, in 1 year to generate, a dozen really good leads, like, if you just say average one a month, that actually closed. And maybe I should have done more, but I was kind of a one-man show. How many of you are out there are a one-man or a one-woman show right now? In other words, you don't have a team. I just want to give me an eye, raise your hand, give me one for a one-man show, right? So you're a one-man, one-woman show. You are not doing this as a team. You don't necessarily have an entire group. You guys give us a one if you're doing this on your own, okay? Because that's what I was doing, okay? Amy says me. Oh yeah, Josh says it's me and AI. Okay, I get it. That's good. But for the most part, most of us are doing this on our own, right? So what happens when you run, even if you had the money to spend on a $10,000 for 90-day ad campaign, as soon as that pipeline gets filled up, you got to shut it off. You got to start following up. You got to start doing all your stuff. And Timothy says, I have a partner, luckily. Okay. Leland says, I'm never alone as long as I have Jesus. I like that. Amen to that, Leland. Okay. Andy, Peggy, Sheck says it's me, myself, and I. So what happens is you've got to do all the follow-up and all that stuff. And so I was in this place where I was generating leads. I would take money from a deal. I'd run a campaign. I'd generate a bunch of leads. I had to shut the campaign off. And then I would work through everything back to the drawing board within about 5-6 months. Do it all over again, except for now Facebook has changed the rules, right?
Yep.
And so that's why you have to have someone who's a dedicated Facebook, like Naveen used to be. So about 4 years ago, I had a transaction that really got me thinking about things, and it had to do with a senior who, and I've already told the story the other day, so I'm not going to repeat the whole thing, but basically I stumbled into the world of working with seniors. And what I found out was that there's seniors that are in situations where they not only it's not even a matter that they want to sell a house, and I want to be sensitive to the fact that situations can be very difficult, but there's a lot of times when seniors, they don't necessarily want to sell their house. I'm going to speak, personally. My wife's grandparents are 92 and 95 years old. They just their house is under contract right now on a retail with a retail buyer. They were able to get a retail buyer because they moved completely out of the house into my wife's parents' basement, which that presented a whole world of challenges. My wife's parents moved them into the basement because they wanted to get the house prepared for sale. And my wife's parents are the builders of this house. This is a custom home. They lived there for 30 something years. But they needed to get them out of the house so they can change the carpets, paint the walls, do all the stuff, freshen it up. And then they ended up sitting on market for quite a while because this market kind of flattened out. They do have a buyer right now. Buyer's inspection, they went in the crawl space. Turned out there's a whole bunch of issues with water penetration. So they're fixing all that stuff. Long and short of it is, you think my wife's grandparents wanted to sell their house, Naveen? No, not at all. But after the second or third or fourth or fifth time to the hospital emergency room, then the rehabilitation facility, and then finally it gets to a place where, hey, you can't go home, you can't live alone. And they didn't want to do in-house care. They wanted to have family. So long and short of it is, they're selling their house. So there's a whole world out there of seniors who maybe they don't even really want to sell their house. It's more a matter of they have to sell their house. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if any of you that are on right now have ever had an experience like that. So a family member that had to move. I want to see if you guys if you know what I'm talking about. So while you guys are getting in there and commenting, and again, help me out when I say this, because it lets me know that we didn't lose you on the audio. Because if I just keep talking, Naveen's gonna nod off here. And okay, so Kevin says yes. And thank you, Josh. It says awesome studio setup. Thank you. So guys, if you know anything about life, you know that eventually people get to the place where they have to sell, and there's a whole world out there of people that kind of work with those folks. Okay, Tani's got a thumbs up. So I'm literally giving away the secret right now. The secret is absolutely Peggy. She works with a lot of these folks. Peggy is one of those people that works every single day with people that need to sell. Now, maybe she's not working with on the purchase price, but she's absolutely working with people in that situation. Doug says, "Oh yeah, I spent 4 years moving mom. It's absolutely challenging. We're literally dealing with it almost daily. My wife's parents, their entire life has hit timeout because they're having to take care of this. And I shouldn't say having to. Obviously, loved ones want to take care.
Right.
But there's some interesting statistics about this particular situation and time of life. I mentioned these the other day. I'll go through it real quickly. 10 to 12,000, depending on who you ask, 10 to 12,000 people every day turning 65 in America. That's a massive amount of people. Those people that are turning 65, they may not be ready to sell right now, but in 10 years, very likely going to be selling. And so there's this expression that people have been kind of popularizing, and some people don't like it, but it's called the silver tsunami, right? And what the idea is you have the baby boomer generation. They're aging, they're living longer. They're getting to places where they need to sell the house. The kids don't really want the house. It's in Missouri. It's in, it's usually a little kind of 1940s, 1950s, 60s. Not necessarily always, but those are the types of houses that a lot of these folks bought. They're typically dated. They're typically in distress. You and I went and looked at one the other day. I mean, just if you could describe that house in one word, what would it be?
Did I just use my word up?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to say disgusting, but
it was
it's sad.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the word. Sad. Like, I was looking for a word that depicted that it needed some love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just the house where the sadness is either. It's the whole situation.
Yes.
The whole situation. I mean, ooh.
Yeah, these are truly motivated sellers. Mm-hmm. And that particular gentleman, Jim is his name. His wife had passed away within the last month. He's almost 85 years old. He has an old horse named Cooper in the back. And he doesn't want to move without taking his horse. Not sure if that's going to happen or not. But the idea is you actually have all kinds of situations where you have people that need to sell. So they have a high level of motivation. They're highly motivated, maybe not necessarily because they want to sell, they need to sell. So Jim is not able to live on his own for much longer, right? The house is majorly distressed, would not qualify for bank financing. So what I stumbled into was a whole world that exists in that space. And because of the fact that I already had experience as I'm a contractor most of my adult life, been paying the bills that way. I've been flipped multiple homes, wholesaled a ton of stuff nationwide, understand the process from beginning to end, have a buyer's list, all that stuff. It recently occurred to me last year as I was looking at my PDX REI group. You guys give me a thumbs up if you're in the PDX REI group. If you're joining us from the PDX REI group, give me a thumbs up or type in PDX or something. Because I was like, last year, I was like, I really want to get some people in my group a deal. I see a lot of people coming to my meetups. I see a lot of people in the chat. I want to make sure people are taking action. So I dove in. And then when we did the proximity event, which Naveen was a great speaker, you guys, can I get a witness, right? Thank you, Naveen.
Had a lot of fun doing that.
It was a blast, and we're going to try to do something like that again, maybe here in Boise, Seattle, something, here before too long. But okay, good. Peter says PDX. Danny's PDX. Yeah, Danny, it was really good to see you at Pace's event. I hadn't seen you forever, bro. Amy is from there. Peggy Stevens. So you guys that are from the PDX REI group, you guys may have not known this, but I went into 2025. My big goal was to make sure that you guys, I'm talking to you, that you guys got some traction in your business this year. And so when we did the proximity event and I asked a lot of you your question, what's the biggest thing you're struggling with? Almost everybody came back with lead generation. So now I'm sitting there thinking about, well, wait a second, I was talking to Naveen not too long ago after I had to apologize and say, I'll meet with you. and he kind of said the same thing. Like, I'm trying this, I'm trying that, trying the other, what should I do? And so that's what led to me saying, you know what, forget about it. Let's just go ahead and open this up. Let's make it possible for people to learn this because it's been super beneficial for my business. And that's why we did the webinar on Saturday. You guys can probably tell right now, I'm not a professional at this, but I absolutely.
We'll get it together.
Thank you. With Naveen's help. But the point is, I launched this webinar on Saturday. First of all, a lot of you couldn't join. I apologize for that. A lot of people said it was no problem. Some people said I couldn't figure it out. So we wanted to do this again. This is our encore presentation. But because of the fact that Naveen had already jumped in and he was like, I want to learn this stuff quickly. And then, you and I, you were talking a little bit about our experience yesterday and what kind of triggered maybe this tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where to start.
Yeah.
So,
well, we were at Jim's house and you saw it because I said, hey, I got a motivated seller. You want to go with me?
Yes. I got a text from John. He's like, you want to go on a seller walkthrough? And I'm like, duh,
Yeah.
like, yeah, what do you mean? Yes, let's go. And so we go and we walk through, you know, we're looking at the house and John's just doing his thing, you know, looking at the number of bathrooms and I guess stuff that would, I guess, be considered pretty standard. And then we had to sit down and talk to, you know, Jim and the rep that John created this relationship with.
By the way, did you want to sit down?
You can't get me saying this stuff on camera, man.
Guys, I'm telling you.
But I mean, I understand.
Yes, it's you have the empathy. You sit down. Like it's not you're like I'm not going to sit down. But boy, man, this place was pretty bad.
Here's something that I don't think we've talked about yet. My grandmother, she's passed, but she developed dementia. Okay, and before that, because she ended up being cared for in our home once we got a home, and then and eventually into a facility. But before that, I was living with my grandmother.
Yeah. And
the home that we lived in, it was one of those old homes in the deep South with that's on top of the cinder blocks and that kind of thing. Her mind started to go then. And we spent a lot of time in that house, or I did, while my mom was out trying to, you know, figure things out when it was just her and I. And the house deteriorated pretty badly to the point that we were living in a house where the floor had sunk in and separated from the wall.
Wow.
So a part of the underground of the house, you know, with like if there was anything that was under there,
crawl space,
it
like
could just
rats,
just walk in,
critters, everything.
Exactly. And so I lived in that house, and so the house that Jim's house, I didn't want to sit down, obviously, but I know that life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that life. There was a hole in my refrigerator in the back of it, so that it didn't keep anything refrigerated. So roaches would go into it. And then when you'd open it and the light would come on, they'd run out the hole that's in the back of the refrigerator. So I know that life and I can empathize. And so, I didn't want to sit down, but like, you know, it's just closed, dude. Like, you know, we can figure it out.
Right. And that's kind of what by the way, that's why there's a pretty high, we're going to get into some of this stuff about qualifying who I'm going to work with, because there's some questions I'm going to have to ask you guys if you're interested in doing this, that you just have to be prepared to do a real deep gut check and a heart check, find out if you're actually qualified or not. So I know there's a couple people that are already jumping off, and I can't believe we've been doing this for 42 minutes now, but I wanted to give a little background, plus we had to take some time to set up. Let's get into real quickly, and as much as you can, kind of give us the quick synopsis. We're sitting at Starbucks after seeing Jim's, and then we're talking about how I developed this relationship with this particular person.
Right.
And then, take it from there real quick. Like, what did I do? And
so then John's like, okay, let's go over to this other, this senior living facility. I looked one up, and he's like, you got to know which ones to go into. And you basically said, we're going to ride over there and I'm going to show you how easy this is. And so then we walk in, and in my mind, I'm trying to get myself prepared.
Like, what's going to happen?
Right. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what role I'm supposed to play, in this or any of that. And we just walk in, and John starts talking to the lady at the desk, gets that person to take us to another person. And that person, that person was extremely interested, and then gives us, I guess I would call it, keys to the kingdom. She's like, these are the people that you need to be in contact with, and here's their information. And then on top of that, we need you because these are the problems that we're having. Right. And for me, that was like, whoa. Right. Because at that point, in my mind, it just becomes a matter of like setting up, what you were talking about, what the follow-up is going to be, setting up whatever the follow-up is, so that channel can start, dripping. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was. It was, she said, we only had 5 minutes. We probably took 5 or 6 at the most.
Yeah. And
then we were back in the car, and it was done. And so, we literally got in the car. I'm like, I don't think there's anything that could compete with that. Like,
well, that's what I've been saying for a while. Doug says that's amazing, and it absolutely is, Doug. it's pretty incredible how easy this is once you know, again, which facilities to go to, who to talk to when you get there, how to get into that conversation, and then as you're having that conversation, what to say. Once you know these things, guys, it's amazing how these leads can come in. And by the way, that's one relationship with one person at one particular property. So
my question to you on
yeah,
that,
go ahead.
okay, is what would be the okay, in wholesaling, you know, there's these numbers that everybody kind of throws out as average numbers, you know, of like, okay, you make 10,000 per deal on average, right, as a wholesaler. What would you say the value would be of one of those relationships in 1 year? Like estimation. I know it's all going to range. And
okay, so yeah, so this actually gives me an opportunity to answer something that somebody else asked, because on Saturday I mentioned that if you had 10 of these transactions that close in 1 year, you could make $100,000. Okay, now guys, remember that's a scenario that I cannot guarantee. But in other words, I can't guarantee you're going to make $100,000 a year if you do this. Okay, but I can say this: it is absolutely within the realm of possibilities if you are treating wholesaling, if you're treating flipping, if you're treating any kind of real estate investing as a business. Like if you're actually doing it as a business for real, that one particular conversation with the right kind of person can easily transpire into 10 deals in a year, 10 transactions, 10 multiple leads, but for sure, especially with the method that I use. And that's one thing that's super important, because you can't go in there using kind of your classic wholesale approach. It does not work here. It's such a different approach. And by the way, I think it's easier because I come into these conversations actually offering value, and I offer options, and I come in as almost a service provider, not necessarily as a real estate investor. And it turns into such a different conversation. But to answer that question, yeah, one relationship with one of these the right kind of properties can easily produce, just that one alone could produce $100,000 a year.
That is wild. Because I remember you saying that the lady that was there that I thought was his daughter at first.
Yeah.
When you told me that was your contact, I remember you saying that this was like the fifth situation that you had been in with her this year.
Yeah.
And it's March.
Yeah.
So like
no, so I should qualify that. I met her when I came here to Boise. I met her in October of last year.
Oh, okay.
So it's been about five, 6 months. Yeah.
So in 5-6 months, she's basically called you once every month.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying, guys. This one relationship is one really, really good lead, if you want to call it one lead per month on average. Okay. And so, and absolutely, Doug is correctly. He said you have to go in with a high EQ. So you've got to go in there with, and again, we don't have time to break all this stuff down today. And I do want to get to the questions that you have. And by the way, I think if you guys have questions, I think it's been posted on here. But if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to Naveen. We're going to put the number up again. Text Naveen if you have any questions. You can text him right now. Do you have any questions yet from anybody?
I got one, but I don't really understand it. I wonder if they'd be willing. It's an 808 number. I wonder if they'd be willing to clarify it.
Yeah, maybe whoever it is that's the 808 number. If you guys reach out to Naveen, maybe clarify your question. But while you're waiting on that to come in, Naveen,
please, y'all text me, because if y'all got questions, first and foremost, I feel like one of the values of learning what I'm learning from John, I guess being the first student, is that the proximity to John, but then like the community, for somebody like me that's a noob, it's like, it'd be great, so I guess ask these questions so you can get them answered. Because I can tell you from what I've learned, just in that one day, I'm like, it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. So I just want to know, one of my big questions has really just been around potential, right? And I think you kind of spoke to that already, which is just a matter of like how you cultivate the relationship, is obviously going to matter. But because it's a need, if you're going to the right kind of communities, they're going to be reaching out to you consistently. So then it just becomes a matter of like developing your pipeline of these relationships.
Yeah,
is what I'm gathering. But y'all, please send me your questions so that I have more things to ask John.
you had a couple of questions.
I do have a few, though.
I want to give you a chance to answer those or ask those before we start. Because you guys, if you want to post it in the comments, you can do that as well. Because I'm looking at the comments. I apologize for looking down. I'm just seeing what you guys are posting. But you can text Naveen directly, or you can put if you want it to be kind of more private, you can put it and text it to Naveen, or you can just drop it right here in the comments. But Naveen, go ahead. And by the way, if this is value to you guys so far, we're almost an hour into this, and I apologize if we're going kind of late. But let's see. Timothy says, "Can you put your number up?" Yes, I'm going to put it up on the screen, Timothy. It's right here. Where did it go? I had it there for a second. And did you have that copy and pasted? Maybe you could do that, Naveen.
Yeah.
Oh, no, here it is. I got you. So Naveen's question is right, or his text number is right there. But Naveen, you fire away, and then you guys, if you have other questions, go ahead and post them in the comments here. Josh says there's more questions in the chat. Now, I'm not sure I know how to get to that.
Yeah, it's going to be harder to find them in the chat than if you text them to me, because then that pipeline of questions is all in one spot. So maybe copy and paste it.
Yeah. So if you guys are comfortable with asking the question in just here in this comment section, post the comment here or question. And Naveen, what was your question? You had. I know. So I do have
another question. So going forward, the dynamic of our relationship as I begin to develop this into a business for myself, right? What does that look like? And I guess to be more specific, as I'm doing deals, does that mean that every time that I get a deal, I bring that deal to you and for us to JV? Yeah. Or does that mean that as I'm developing my skill set in this area, I can begin to do deals more independently? Okay. What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to answer that question, first of all, I have to describe how important it is that anyone I'm working with has a massively high level of integrity. Mm-hmm. And I actually appreciate the fact we've actually got some nurses, some folks that are already working with seniors in this chat. You guys that are already in that space, you know how important it is to have a high level of integrity when it comes to, I mean, really in anything you do, but especially working with seniors, right? It's highly critical to have a high level of integrity. So I have kind of a system that I use. First of all, that if anyone wants to be a part of this with me, like you and I've thoroughly vetted you. Like I've looked at your social, I've checked you out, right? And I'm not saying that like if you have a past that means we can't do this, but I'm not just gonna be like, oh yeah, you paid the money and then I teach you the thing. That's not what I'm doing. So that might work for other people. That's not what I'm doing. I can't afford to do that because my reputation's on the line. Okay. So to answer that question, it's kind of in two parts. Number one, high level of integrity. I'm going to vet anyone that's going to come in. Like I have to personally vet them. Two, because the method that I'm doing is so different than anything. And I mean, I'm a part of Pace Morby's group, not just like sub 2, not just I've paid for sub 2, top tier TC, Gator, right? The whole thing. I've actually am a paying member of Owners Club, which is mm-hmm. super high level. It's $40,000 a year to get in. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm in there, right? I'm a part of Myron Golden's coaching. I'm a part of.
I know about Myron.
Right. Business coaching. I'm a part of several high levels. I've never, ever, ever heard anybody in the real estate space talk about the particular method that I use for not only finding these leads, but also for taking them from A to Z, where, like Doug mentioned, you actually get paid. Okay. Mm-hmm. because the thing is guys, we're all in this to make money somewhere along the way, right? We just happen to have found a way to make money by helping people, right? Helping distressed sellers. But how much more to be able to help distressed sellers that are in really, really difficult situations where they have to sell. So the way that the system that I have set up is I have to vet everybody. And I'm going to answer the question, Naveen, right now.
Mm-hmm.
So in case you're like, okay, I wish John would shut up and answer the question.
You're fine.
The way that I have to do it is I have to spend at least 12 months working with anybody that's going to come in this group. I'm going to spend 12 months working with you guys side by side. Every single deal, we're going to be looking at it. I'm going to be helping you decide what to offer. I'm going to be helping you line up your buyer. I'm going to help you if you want to take it down yourself. If some of you are buy and hold, I know that Tess mentioned that she doesn't want to wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually trying to acquire properties and hold on to those. Okay. I'm going to help with the financing if you don't have it. But the point is, we're going to JV all of those deals for the first 12 months because I'm basically bringing you guys into my world. I'm saying, here's my contractors, here's my electricians. Remember I showed you the other day?
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you guys a quick example, if I go to my phone and I pull up electrical. So how many of you guys have ever needed an electrician? I'm going to go up here and do this. I'm going to switch actually I'm going to switch to this real quick. You guys hold on with me. Okay. You guys look at here's my electricians. Okay. I'm going to show you guys this. I've been in Portland doing construction for 15 years almost. I've got so many electricians, right? I just type in electric, I didn't even fill the whole thing out. I type in electric and I've got electricians, I've got plumbers. I have the same exact thing here in the Boise area because I used to build houses here and I have a ton of contacts. The point is, if you guys are kind of like, I'm just getting started, I've got all of that, right? I have all of my contacts, all of my lenders, all of my private money. You guys are going to buy, and it's essentially going to buy into not just learning how to do this, but buy into an entire year of working with me side by side from A to Z, every deal done together, so that I know, for one, you're doing it right, because my reputation is going to be on the line, because I'm going to be doing these appointments with you like we did yesterday.
Right.
We're going to sit down, we're going to do it together.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this early on. This is a hyper local type of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because I move back and forth all the time. I'm in Portland 1 week. I'm in Boise here. I'm in Seattle. I'm okay with anywhere here in this general Northwest. I can do this with anybody. And if someone really wanted to learn it, I'd do it, anywhere in the country. I just have to make sure that I cover my costs. But the point is, here between Portland and Boise, I have to do it with you. I'm going to do it with you for 12 months. If at the end of 12 months, you're like, hey, I think I got this thing figured out, I don't need John anymore. Well, then, wish you well. We're going to collaborate, no competition. It's just a matter of collaborating. But for the first 12 months, absolutely, we're going to be doing it together, A to Z, every deal. We have a JV agreement to where any profit that comes from that is going to be split 50-50 between anybody that brings the lead in. Okay. So you're going to bring the lead in. I'm going to teach you how to find the leads, what to say, all those things. Mm-hmm. You're going to go out and get the lead. You're going to bring it into my world. I'm going to help you do the dissection and get it all the way from contract signed to closed and everybody paid. And we have a JV agreement that just says 50-50 split. So
I love that.
Does that help?
Yes. And it does clarify some things too, because of just the fact that when we went on that meeting, well, not the meeting, but when we went to go to the facility yesterday, mm-hmm. there was about 8 or 9 things that you and this lady talked about that I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I guess. So then in my mind, it's like, okay, well, there's navigating the seniors' relationship with like the government and insurance, of course, the house and other programs that the facility is going to bring up that they have access to, and like how you navigate. Because I had never heard the program that she said. I think it started with a B. I don't remember what it was. But I had never heard of anything like that before.
Yeah.
And you knew what it was and how to be like, oh no, but that's not going to help the senior.
Yeah. I remember what
you know what I'm talking about.
Yep,
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's not going to help the senior because of this, and this. Still didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
But did you see what happened whenever I said, "Oh no, I don't do that. I do this."
I do this. Yeah.
And you see her eyes light up.
She's like, "Oh, yeah." And I did. Believe me, I was watching everything. Yeah. The only thing I wish I could have done was have my notepad out and maybe even recorded it. But like I said before, that would have, yeah. So I definitely see the need for doing it in person. So that, I mean, but we get a question here.
Okay.
Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know, and this is not my thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want to ask the question. So before I do, it's okay if I say something as the mindset guy, not as the noob.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. So by the way, you're gonna switch hats, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Tell everybody, just so you guys watch out. Naveen is taking off his newbie real estate guy hat, and he's putting on his old pro mindset guy hat. Go ahead.
I'm going to say the question first.
Okay.
I'm not going to say who sent it. They didn't even put a name here, but it says in many deals, the deals are in the follow-up. What kind of follow-up are you doing? Now, the reality is I'm pretty sure that's a part of being in the program. Okay.
Absolutely.
And if everybody here is having the same problem that I would say I was having or am having, as a newbie, and that problem is like leads, then in my mind, the questions that would come in would or should be more a function of like, what things are in the way that are keeping me from doing the thing I know I need already. And not how can I get the information from the program without getting in the program.
Okay.
And to me, and a lot of the clients that I end up coaching, this ends up being the thing. The thing is that we always focus a lot less on what we can create, right? When it comes to dealing with people, right? But in everything else in life, we focus. We're only thinking about what we can create. If we go to the grocery store and we say, "I'm gonna make tacos," we don't doubt that the meat and the taco shells and the lettuce and the avocados are gonna end up being a taco. We know we can create tacos. We know that we have what it takes to do that, right? And we know that the ingredients are there. And if I'm assuming correctly, people that are in this community have been in this community, if not years, then at least months, right? Showing up consistently, which proves that they know that the ingredients are there for the tacos. Like they know that there's something there, to be able to make tacos. So if that's the case, then it's like, is what people are struggling with a fact that they don't know if the tacos can be made or if they can make the tacos themselves. And that's what I get when I see this question. And I know that you did not ask me to do that. And I'm not trying to like impose on your thing here. But my wife says I'm willing to vomit on anybody that'll listen. And so,
this actually is a great opportunity. So you guys should understand that Naveen is literally, he's in a mindset space.
Yeah.
He's got his wisdom continuum. If you guys were there for proximity at all, I'd just love for you guys to maybe just jump in and just give us a quick little word or two about the wisdom continuum that Naveen did at proximity. But I actually have already asked him if for the folks that sign up and want to do the legacy leads with me, I've actually already asked Naveen to come in and do some mindset work with us in this space. So Josh says it was amazing. Absolutely, Naveen brought a ton of value for mindset stuff. So what you basically said is you're the person asking the question, and this is maybe we're completely off. We don't want to assume that we know, but
for sure.
But when you have someone who's asking questions like, well, does it do this? What about that? Sometimes it's a question of like, do you actually doubt that it can be done? Or you're still not certain that you're going to be equipped to do it? Because a lot of times we get in our head about, well, I don't know how to do that, or I don't know if they're going to do that. Yeah, you produce the leads, but what then? Right? Well, guys, the way I'm planning on doing this is I'm doing these deals with you. So it's kind of like I make money when we close the deal, just like you make money. So believe me when I say this, I am actually looking to get these things done as quickly as possible, the right way, right paperwork. Paperwork is absolutely huge in this particular space. This is not a back of a napkin type of a wholesale transaction. These things have to be done correctly, particularly because of some rules that Medicaid has. And I don't have time to get into the widgets and the nuts and bolts here, but there's some things that have to be done correctly, or else you can find yourself in some serious hot water with, like you said, federal government if it's not done correctly. So again, this stuff is absolutely something that I am going to be making sure gets done correctly all the way through. And yes, follow up is a huge part of it. I mean, if all I do is generate leads and then I don't ever do anything with them, well, I mean, I'm going to be out of business really fast.
Right.
And I've been doing this for 10 years now, flipping and wholesaling construction, and particularly working with these seniors for the last 4 years. And it's been very, very good for me. So Amy says, I'm excited about the possibilities. Absolutely. Peggy says, love you, Naveen. Peggy says, Naveen, you were my favorite. So
yeah. It's so my dad's sister, her name is Peggy as well.
Okay.
And so I have an Auntie Peggy. So
Auntie Peggy.
Yeah. So when I saw Peggy in there, I'm like, "What's up, Auntie? Talk to me."
Yeah.
No, she's awesome.
Let's move on real quickly because I love Peggy too. If you guys know Peggy, you know Peggy. She's awesome. Peggy has been a part of my circle for a couple of years now. She's amazing. Let's go on. What other questions do you have? I know you're going to give me some questions. What hard questions you got for me, Mr. Naveen? Anything?
Honestly, one of the things that you really did tackle was the dynamic of that relationship looks like. You touched on the pricing and like split of things, that kind of thing. Now, when it comes to doing deals that aren't wholesale deals, could you provide more clarity on that relationship, within the 12 months?
Yeah.
So like creative, or buy and hold or fix and flip or whatever it is, does it all look exactly the same, or does it kind of fluctuate?
Yeah. So the way we're going to have everything structured is there is a set guaranteed price. By the way, I'm going to be teaching you guys things that most of you, even if you're doing really, really good at wholesaling right now, or say you're actually a flipper, or say you're a buy and hold, and you're keeping rentals, I'm going to be showing you guys how you're probably doing that wrong already. And I don't mean that to disrespect, but like you guys should be getting paid on everything you do. Okay. So even if you're buying and holding properties as a landlord, renter trying to build a portfolio of properties, I'm going to show you guys how you should be structuring every deal to where you get paid at least once on the front end, where you basically wholesale it to yourself. And then you have that as part of your acquisition fee for your buy and hold cost. Because a lot of times what we forget is we have to pay ourselves for our time. So to answer the question in a real general sense, let's say we have one let's say Naveen comes to me and you're like, John, this thing is right across the street from me. It's in the same neighborhood. I know this lead popped up, but it turns out it's, right around this corner from me. I've been wife and I have been talking about getting a rental. We're really wanting to acquire properties, start building that generational wealth. I want to keep this thing. Instead of wholesaling it, I want to keep it myself. Okay. Well, we have a structure that's going to be set up, a joint venture agreement that says effectively we'd still go through the same process, right? We figure out what it's worth. We figure out what to make the offer on to the sellers. Once we get to closing, that joint venture agreement that we have says, okay, Naveen has, individually is going to, or your LLC is going to purchase and hold this property. and then John and Naveen are going to get paid the wholesale fee. Okay, so everything we do is going to be a joint venture, and I set it up like that because I want you guys to actually see how this should work. Okay, this is super important that you're learning not just how to acquire the leads, and by the way, I think they're the best leads in the market, right? But you should be knowing how to actually build your real estate business. Your investing business needs to be treated as a business. Okay. I have been thinking about this. I really have been wondering, like, how exactly, what does this business structure look like? And this really does feel like, to me, it's becoming more and more a B2B type of a thing. So it's business to business is what I'm doing. Now, with the sellers and the lead generation, that's a continual relationship that happens over and over and over again. But with the people that are entering into the Legacy Leads group, this is effectively, it's one business teaching another business. I want you guys to become business owners, not necessarily just, you find a lead, you know how to generate leads. I want you guys to actually know how to set up and build your own business in a way that's not taking up a ton of your time and not taking a bunch of your money. So I hope that helps. Amy says exit strategies.
I was just about to ask you to talk about exit strategies. Good question, Amy.
Yeah, so exit strategies can be one of many, right? Typically, it's going to be: are we going to wholesale this to another investor? I have a ton of investors and buyers in my world. I'm sure you guys probably have investors yourselves. Are we wholesaling this to an investor, a cash buyer? Are we wholesaling this to a buy and hold investor? Are we going to say, hey, by the way, I'm an active flipper, right? So I could flip anything that comes up in the Boise, Idaho market, Seattle, Portland. Seattle, Portland areas. Like I might flip those myself. In any case, you guys would still get paid a wholesale fee, right? We're going to do the JV agreement. You get paid a wholesale fee. So everybody that brings a lead in through actively doing the things that I'm going to show you guys how to do, we're gonna take it down together. You're gonna get paid on everything, okay? And that's gonna continue for the space of 1 year. If at the end of 1 year you're like, hey, I want to keep doing this with you, perfect. Let's keep doing it. We might make some adjustments to the joint venture agreement, but for the most part, I just want you guys to be in this and see what the different exit strategies are, how to generate these leads, what kind of relationships you need to be cultivating, what kind of contracts you need to be using for this, and making sure that every exit strategy is considered. And typically it's going to be, are we wholesaling? Are we keeping this? Are we flipping it ourselves? Those are the big three, right? But I don't know if that answers Amy's questions about exit strategies, but basically we have all the classic exit strategies. So I think that's maybe going to speak to that. Kevin says 8:45 Mountain Standard Time, audio and visual still good. All right, good deal. Thank you, Kevin. That's perfect. I love you doing that. Thank you, man.
Somebody said if I set up a table, I don't know if I want to ask this one.
Go ahead.
If I set up a table at a busy mall or a shopping center with a sign that says I buy houses, with a menu that included fire damage, water damage, foreclosed, pre-foreclosure, paid and clear, or low to zero equity, do you think that would gain traction with leads?
Hey, like I said a couple minutes ago, anything that you do consistently is generally going to produce a lead. Okay. Now, this is not necessarily a call about different techniques for because we're obviously, you guys can tell I'm hooked on these leads. Okay. I love these leads. I don't have to go set up a table. I don't have to go knocking on doors. I don't have to go making phone calls. I don't have to call title companies. So I really like these types of leads. But yeah, absolutely. Whoever asked that question, you could potentially get leads. You could set up a table on a street corner, right? The thing I always ask is, okay, if you're going to go to that length, first of all, the mall, you're going to have to pay a fee at to be there. But secondly, you're going to have to personally be there yourself all day. And I look at who are my clientele at the mall, right? I mean, you got a bunch of teenage kids that are hanging out, getting away from parents for a couple of hours. Probably not your best, prospect for owning a house and wanting to sell.
Right.
And then on the other hand, like, you have people that are at a mall. Okay, are these people even in need? Do they have any kind of crisis? You know what I mean? It's just, to me, it's like, it's not exactly the best place to do something like that. But I mean, could it work? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amy has another question.
Okay, is this going to be like sub 2, pay once for life? It's a good fit. We continue to work together. Absolutely, yeah. So once you guys, anybody that joins, you guys are going to basically have, because of the fact that I've never done this particular aspect of it before. I'm to be honest, I'm trying to make the front end people. I'm trying to make your experience the best that there is, right? So everything that we record, all of our techniques, the contracts, all that stuff, you guys are going to get lifetime access to all that, just like you would in sub 2, Amy. As far as like you want to keep working together, and I know you're not in Owners Club, but Pace basically has a similar setup where you pay an annual membership to be a part of Owners Club. And by being a part of Owners Club, you're actually getting the benefits of the different companies and things he's creating. Now, I'm not necessarily going out there building a bunch of companies, but in essence, it would be like your upfront fee pays for access, pays for training, pays for handhold, basically a hold your hand type of real estate investment training, real time. We're going to go out and do these appointments together. We're going to close the deals together. You're going to learn as we go, access to all my stuff. And then at the end of 1 year, if you want to continue, and to be frank, it's not, that's a problem that I'll probably start working on 6 to 8 months from now, not necessarily right now. Like today, I'm working on today problems, if that makes sense. So Amy, but yeah, the idea is you guys we could absolutely continue to work together if you so choose. But my aim is to make it to where if at the end of 12 months you're like, I got this. Like I don't want to share my deals with John. I'm gonna go out and do my own stuff. That's totally fine with me. I'm actually going to try to train you guys to where that's an option that's very viable if that's what you guys want to do. So.
I actually have 2 more questions.
Yeah.
What if some of us are pretty ambitious, right? And let's say we go out and we are putting together, let's pretend that we're able to go out and put together, let's say 10, 15 of these relationships, and deal flow is like a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
No. Great problem to have.
I can imagine. How will we be able to still consistently with the other students, right, and people in the Legacy Leads program, how would we be able to still collaborate in that sense and not burn you out?
Okay. That's a really good question. So you guys should understand that I'm working on building out my own team. I already have all of my vendors. So I have my contractors, I have my lenders, I have the people that, my transaction, we have an in-house transaction coordinator, by the way. All of the deals will include in-house transaction coordinator that's certified with top tier TC. That's all part of the service. So you guys get access to that. But to answer the question, I'm not looking to do every single one of these. I'm not going to every single appointment at every single facility forever.
Right.
I'm going to pour into getting you guys up and running as quickly as possible. And that's why we're actually going to have scheduled appointments, which it's what's interesting about it is in this particular space, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like when a motivated seller calls and says, hey, and you got to drop everything and go do that. So this is a different thing. It says it's strategic, but as you saw yesterday, it's very, very instant. Once you establish that rapport and that connection, like it's on, right?
Right.
But in other words, like if we want to do, like what we're going to do is we're actually going to schedule out these visits. And so what I'll do is I'll take one person. And by the way, I'm also keeping this really, this is a very small, tight knit group. I'm not doing dozens of people. We're literally, I'm thinking we're probably going to have 3 or 4 folks involved in this. Okay. Which is totally fine with me because I want to be totally accessible.
Right.
But yeah, we would do as many appointments as you need to where I'm going to be going, you're going to be quiet. Eventually there's going to be a little bit of talking between both of us. Then we're probably the last couple of times we're going to go together. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you do the talking, and then I'm going to jump in and help if you get stuck. Mm-hmm. But basically, what we're doing is he's just having a hot flash right now. Don't mind him. No, we're going to make this thing to where it's absolutely it's going to work for you guys no matter what. And listen, if we get to the end of the year and it's just like, man, that was totally, too much work, well, then I'm not going to do this again. This is the answer. And it goes back to, what was my motivation for doing this to begin with? Because I'm already doing this myself. I don't need to go take on the headache. I really am vested in seeing some of the people that are in my community. And I can't do it for everybody, but I know there's some action takers. I know there's some people that are highly motivated. I know there's some people that see themselves doing this, and those people are the ones that I'm looking to help out. So does that make sense? You guys give me a thumbs up again. Let me know if you're still with me. Give me a thumbs up if you're still with me, or if that makes sense. Give me a fist bump. Anybody got anything?
Did you see Andy Bowman has a good question?
Oh, Andy Bowman. Okay, no, I didn't see that one yet. Let me see here. Possible to JV with someone else, more of an extrovert. Another person is an introvert. Can we go into this? Can we go in on this training program? So, Andy, the answer to that question is you guys would have to actually have your own joint venture agreement where you have two partners on the same LLC.
Start a company, basically.
Yeah, and the only reason I have to do it that way, because otherwise I got one person coming in saying, "Oh, we're coming in as partners," and then one person's like, this thing isn't for me," and he bails out. Well, now the other person's going to get stuck footing the bill, or they're not going to have. So I would do that if you guys were actually coming in as a partnership. So I actually have done that personally. I have partnerships with people. I'm a big believer in squad up, so I have partnerships with other people that I have established, and I do a certain role, they do another role, and we're in certain programs together. Totally legitimate, but it has to be a legal entity, because that way I know the two of you coming into this are actually coming in with full agreement from day one. So hope that makes sense. Okay, we got a couple more things, and we're running up here on 90 minutes almost, if you can believe that. So let's go ahead and get through a couple more questions, Naveen. If you guys have any more questions, now's the time to drop them in the comments. We're going to be looking to sign off here in a few minutes, but what do you got?
There was a secondary one that I had that it's running from me. It was, gosh, I lost it.
It's gone.
I lost it. It's gonna come back.
It's getting kind of late here too. So.
It is.
Any questions in the comments? I know that Josh said there's another chat somewhere else. And let's see, he says you should drop the app link now and then in case
it's gonna bother me.
Okay, yeah, you keep thinking about that. Josh, I see your comment here. Is there any way you can do that? I did bring you onto the stage. I don't know if you just can't do it because you're not signed in as a team. Maybe you can remind me, send me another text. Okay, so Stephanie's, okay, this is great. Stephanie Lake says entry costs besides the JV part. So the way that I've done this is I figured if I taught you guys how to do what I'm going to show you to do, and that technique of lead generation, that is, I personally believe is the cheapest and at the same time the best motivated leads. That's why I said the other day, America's best. Why did I say America? Because these leads are everywhere, right? This isn't just limited to big city. These are small towns. These are big cities. Once you know how to do this, you can go anywhere and do this. Okay. So America's best motivated lead seller, motivated seller leads. If I'm going to show you guys how to do that, if you did this and all you did was cultivate one good relationship and you just kept with that one good relationship, like I said, on average, and I'm not going to go into all of the statistics right now, but I know from the statistics, what do these typical facilities, what's their capacity? What's the turnover rate? Okay, I've learned all these things. How many of these people on average come into these facilities owning property? Like, what's the average number of a percentage of homeowners in a major metropolitan area? Like, I know these numbers well enough to know that one relationship with one particular person in one particular location, again, the right relationship, right location, can absolutely, if it is cultivated and taken care of, right, you treat it right, it can absolutely produce 10 deals a year. That's one. Okay. So if you have one relationship, and by the way, I'm going to teach you guys, this is going to be up to you. You guys can go out and cultivate as many of these as you want, because there's a massive amount of relationships available. But one, if you just did one and it cultivated 10 deals a year, then let's just take the average wholesale fee, which, by the way, I was actually going to, I'm going to make myself a note real quick. I'll pull it up. Okay, I'm just writing a note. I'm writing down something. So when, okay. If we just take the average wholesale fee, let's say that we're going to wholesale this, and you had an average wholesale fee of $10,000 per transaction, and you had 10 deals a year. Okay, so you got 10 deals a year, $10,000. That's a $100,000 relationship. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to teach you guys how to do this and cultivate as many of these as possible. But let's just say on average you had 10 of these deals a year. Then that means 1 year would produce, if it's done right, and if we just do, I can't guarantee anything, but it should produce $100,000 a year, one relationship. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, Naveen, what is one relationship that has the potential to produce $100,000 a year income? What is that worth for a year?
To me,
I'm just saying, don't even get into like deep thinking. Like just say, if I said, hey, I could teach you how to make $100,000 a year, and I have a program that I help you with for a year to learn how to do that, how much is that worth? Just at least off the top of your head.
I'd say at least 10, 20% of that amount for sure.
Okay, well, I would say it's worth $100,000. Because it's going to give you $100,000 worth of value.
I'm thinking about a coaching program.
No, I totally get it, but this is what I'm saying. I'm just trying to think in super simple terms, right? Mm-hmm. And by the way, guys, I'm not saying this is.
He tricked me, guys.
I'm not saying this costs $100,000. I'm just saying this is the way I look at it. If I can learn something and it takes me a year to learn it, which it won't take you a year, but I'm saying you'll have a year to be in the program. If I can learn something that I know in 1 year is going to pay me $100,000, then to me it's worth $100,000 minimum, right? It's just an average, even.
Right.
Now it's actually worth a lot more than that because it has the potential to pay out. So let's just use like a college degree. You say it costs $100,000, let's just say on the cheap, right? Mm-hmm. You go to community college, you're going to go there for 4 years. It's going to cost you $100,000. Well, what is that education worth? It should be at least worth $100,000, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you paid for it.
Exactly.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, if I just said, okay, I'm going to pay you what it's worth for 1 year, it could be $100,000 charge, and you'd still be coming out of there after year one. You go into year two, now it's all cash money, right?
Exactly.
That's how I think. I'm not a strategist.
But that makes sense, 100%. That makes sense for sure.
So what to answer your question, and I believe it was, let's see,
she said that she missed the price.
Okay, so the price is to join this initial program is for everything we're going to teach you guys, handheld coaching, all the contracts, and it's super important to do the right contracts. Showing you guys how to get around, and I want to be careful, how to navigate the new Oregon wholesale laws that are coming out, showing you guys how to do it legally. I'm not worried about it at all because I've already been closing deals in a way that is not considered a wholesale. I've been doing it for years. So, which it actually does make it a little bit difficult because if I go and I would say I want to establish a relationship with a new hard money lender, and they're like, well, send us, a copy of all your last deals. And then I go and show them some of my transactions and they're like, well, your name's not on this. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm in the deal, but my name isn't on it like a typical wholesaler. So there's a little bit of a hiccup there, but I've learned how to get around that too. But the point is, everything you're going to get, $25,000 is what I'm requiring to basically say make it worth my time to teach it and to hold you guys' hand through it for a year. It's not in my opinion, it's not a large amount of money, especially given what I've paid to learn how to do this, if that makes sense. And by the way, I'm active in super high level coaching, so I'm bringing any stuff that's valuable from those different places. Myron from Pace Morby Owners Club, Jamil Damji. Jamil's coming out with some new stuff for co-living. So if we have a property that's like, man, this thing would be perfect for co-living, well then, I already have access to that stuff too. So I'm bringing anything that I already have access, I'm bringing it into the community so you guys will have that. But yeah, 25,000 is what we're requiring. we're not, I'm not asking you to pay that right now at all. In fact, I'm not asking anybody to pay any money tonight. That is, if someone is interested in learning this, there's a whole entire qualification sheet that they're going to have to go through. And then based on how you answer the questions, then I'm going to be going through there and setting up appointments to talk to the people that are actually what I consider to be qualified to proceed to making a deposit to get started. So,
is there anyone that would be committed to making sure Naveen is not the only student? Anyone? Okay, if not for John, then for me, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Sheck saying there's so much value in this. I know there's a ton of value in just the flipping along with the creative tools. Absolutely, guys. I've been doing this stuff for a decade. Okay, I have learned so many things the hard way, and I'm bringing this into a space that I think is massively valuable. I think, by the way, I'm so invested in this that I don't know if I told you this or not, but I'm looking to become in essence, what they call a thought leader in this space, like real estate, seniors, using creativity to make the senior. By the way, this is just so you guys know, I have options for the seniors that are way better than anybody that's going to come along and say, we buy houses, here's your cash offer. Like, you guys have to understand, on the senior side, they're getting a much better prospect of making the most amount of money possible. Okay. So if you guys think that like we're just going to show you guys how to lowball seniors, that's not what we're doing. Okay. I'm working at this. So I'm looking to become somewhat of an authority in this space. And I've already been on the trajectory to do that for a while. But what I'm doing right now is I'm saying, hey, if some of you guys want to come with me, I'll show you how to do this. And I have to acknowledge this is a little bit self-serving.
Mm-hmm.
One, I already told you, I really wanted to see some of my students in the PDX REI group actually get ahead, TV REI group here in Treasure Valley. Okay. I really want to see some of you guys get out there and make some deals. Two, I still have calls coming in and messages coming in from the Portland relationships that I've established that are still coming in with regularity.
Mm-hmm.
And I need somebody that I can say, hey, somebody that I know knows this stuff that can go through the process with me. So to full disclosure, I'm actually looking to establish relationships with people that are still full-time in the Portland market, as opposed to me back and forth, so that we can actually do these deals together. But I can't just, you guys understand, I can't just post these types of leads out to my Facebook community. Right. I can't just post this out and say, hey, I got a lead. Because of the particular process that's involved, it has to be done the way that I do it, or else I'm shooting myself in the foot. So I really want to teach some of you guys how to do this, which is why I've actually priced it down what I believe is very much a fair price. I don't want to make this sound like as if I've got like gobs of money that I just like to throw at stuff, but I mean, this, guys, I've paid twice as much money as what I'm asking to learn half as much stuff before. We'll just put it that way.
Believe me, I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, so I'm of the belief that if your coach doesn't have a coach, they don't deserve to be a coach.
I love that.
And
say that again.
If your coach doesn't have a coach, they don't deserve to be a coach.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, I have coaching clients that I'm coaching right now, right? But I'm in other mentorships that I've paid tens of thousands of dollars to be in. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
That's a huge that talks about mindset stuff, but I switch, and I see Timothy says, hey, I'd love to be a part of this, in it to win it. I don't have that kind of cha-ching at the moment though. Okay, now Timothy, I'm just going to be straight up with you. I know exactly what you mean by that, and I've been there before, but I want to encourage you not to say, not to get stuck on that. I don't have that kind of money right now. Like you and I, again, Naveen can talk about this stuff. We're going to be talking about this in our group coaching stuff, but you really have to look at, it's like Myron Golden says one time, he goes, you have all the money you need to do anything you want to do.
It's just in someone else's pocket.
It's in someone else's pocket. Okay. and it sounds kind of, it sounds kind of bad. You say like, oh man, but we're not going and taking it from somebody. But what I'm saying is like, okay, the money let's just talk about a wholesale deal. People talk, it's no problem at all for wholesalers to think about making money without any money out of their own pocket. right? But for some reason, when you say that in a different way, in a different application, people are like, well, what do you mean by that? Oh, so I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to get money out of my pocket. I'm smarter than the average bear, right? I'm smarter than the average bear, boo-boo, right? So, it's funny because in wholesaling, people understand this concept all the time. You get the contract together and you just basically get a cut in the middle. Well, you're basically taking money from someone else's pocket, right? In essence, that's what you're doing. Okay, but when we say something like that in the sense of, hey, the money's not there right now, but I guarantee you there is a way to get it. It's just you got to figure out how to get it out of someone else's pocket and bring value to them where they're like, yeah, here's the money you need. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say that. So, and guys, listen, I completely get it. If you're not in a space right now or this is your first thing, so you guys know, I actually have some other stuff that we're going to be rolling out in a month or two. That is probably, it's not probably, it's for sure more of a lower entry level ticket. But I can also tell you it's not going to have nearly as much value as what we're going to be doing in this space. So it'll still have value. It's just going to be priced according to the value you're going to get. Now, if you want to take it and run with it, then you could potentially scale. But I'm just going to be doing some more lower entry type of stuff here soon because.
Naveen has a question. I'm sure it'll probably be like one of our last questions. Are you open to sharing how many relationships you've cultivated so far, or a rough estimate?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
So, keeping in mind that for the last 4 years that I've been doing this, I have also had, pretty much a fully active John Buys Houses. You guys can go to my website there, johnbuyshouses.com.
Mm-hmm.
I still generate traffic to that. Keeping in mind that up until just really this last year, I was involved in full-time ministry. So real estate has always been supplemental. It's just, full disclosure. I'm kind of in a transition right now. So I have the time to pour into teaching this stuff and to doing it more on scale. But to answer the question specifically, I have, off the top of my head, I have, at least a dozen of these types of relationships in the Portland market. Since I've been here in Boise, again, off and on, moving back here to this space, to this area. Since I've been here, I've established 3 relationships, one of which I've cultivated because the gal had a seller right away that needed some help, and I jumped on it. And because I was there with her in real time, she's like, oh, wow, John's bringing value to my clients. So she's the one who I've had 5 different appointments with. But I have 2 other relationships I've established very much. Actually, if I count the one yesterday and then the one the day before that, I actually, because I have their cards in my pocket still in my wallet. Yeah. That's actually 5 now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is a very, very simple and easy thing to establish. The relationships are basically like what I should be doing is I should just be going like, I'm not talking to anybody about anything. I'm going to go out and for about a year, just all I'm going to do is focus on building these relationships and just build a massive list. But I like to say, I think I told you this the other day, it only takes 3 to see.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
You get 3 of these types of relationships, and actually cultivate. You get 3 of these relationships. It only takes 3 to see. Once you have those 3, and you're going to start saying, oh, and then you're like, I want to go out and get more. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it takes 3 to see, 10 to win. Okay. So
see 10 to win.
Write it down, right? 3 to see, 10 to win. Because you have 10 of these relationships, you are going to be getting leads. There's no way around it. And for those of you that are solopreneurs in the sense that you're a one-man, one-woman show, if you have 10 of these relationships, I guarantee you're going to be busy with the leads that are coming in from these 10 different relationships. I promise you that. You'll never have to do any social media marketing again. You'll never have to go down and beg for leads. Hey, who's got leads? I'm looking for buyers. You won't have to do any of that stuff again. No more pay-per-click, no more Facebook ads.
That's the big domino, man.
Yeah,
that's the big domino.
It's
You'll
huge.
never have to. Now, granted, I might not be the best person to talk about this because I've never had to pay for any of the stuff that I was networking with a guy recently here in the Boise market who's spending $20,000 a month on paid advertising channels, multiple paid advertising channels. And I've just never had to do that in this space. So I might not be the best, guy to talk about that, but if I don't have to do that,
Yeah.
hey,
Why do it?
Right? Why start now?
And let me say something about the guy that's paying $20,000 a month. Okay, is he getting leads? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Are those leads turning into deals? Absolutely. It's almost just a matter of percentages and numbers game when you're doing that, right? But who else is he paying out of those? He's not just paying $20,000 a month.
No, he's got a team.
He's got a full team he's paying, right? And by the way, if any of you have ever had anything to do with management, maybe just let me see. You know, I don't want to say give me a thumbs down in the comments, but you guys, it's a whole different level when you are managing a team of real estate investors. I've done it. Okay, now me personally, I actually don't mind working with people. It's kind of what I do. You know, being in ministry and being a pastor, I kind of thrive on that. It comes natural to me. I love coaching. I love shepherding. I love all that. But what I'm saying is, man, you talk about needing people skills, people calling for, you know, your team isn't, you know, fulfilling what they're supposed to be doing. You got to fire people. In other words, the guy that's paying $20,000 a month in lead generation, oh, is he getting deals? Absolutely. Does he have a world of problems on his hand? Absolutely. I know he does. And what happens the minute that he stops paying that $20,000 a month?
Those leads stop coming in. Yeah.
Okay. Whereas with legacy leads and the method that I've shown you guys, you go out and establish some relationships, and then you sit back. And I'm not even exaggerating. You sit back and the phone starts ringing. Just like the one that I got earlier this week, or no, it'd been last week now, last Monday. The one that we went and looked at Jim was just a text came out of nowhere from somebody I established a relationship with.
You just put a question in my head, but Peter has a question as well. So I'm going to write mine down.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see Peter.
That's great. Okay, so Peter Lou, hey, good to see you, man. Actually, it was really nice to see you. I saw you standing in the back at Pace's meetup, but I didn't get a chance to come say hi. It was really awesome to see you. I hope I'm going to be seeing more of you guys. Those of you that came out for Pace, come out and see old John on third Thursday, right? PDX REI group meetups every third Thursday. But Peter's question is, what is the requirement to join experience-wise? The answer is you have to have about this much experience, okay? What do I mean by that? I mean, this is not a thing that's based on your experience. This is a thing that's based on your integrity and your willingness to do what I tell you guys to do. And I say that that's super important because I cannot afford to have someone paying to be a part of this and then not doing the work, because somebody might be able to pay the money and then not do the work. And by the work, I mean just going out and going with me to these appointments initially and then just doing the steps. But if you're not willing to do that, then it's going to be bad on me, because you're going to be like, well, I paid all this money and I didn't do anything. Well, you have to do the work. And that's true for anything. Okay, just get used to working, because that's life, right? But Peter, to answer the question, you don't have to have experience to join or to even do this, because of the fact that you're doing it with me. I'm going to show you guys all along the way what to do. So I hope that answers your question.
Tanya Marshall, thumbs down.
That was for the if you ever had to manage people.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's about to call you out, Tanya.
No, I was just wondering. what it was for. And I apologize, Tanya, because I was writing my question down so I didn't forget, because I already forgot one. It is still bugging me. So
yeah. What was your one?
So what is the, like, as this relationship continues, right? And we're down the line, we're working on deals, right? And then let's say something happens in one of our lives where we can't work on that project with, that senior. What happens then? Who does it go to? How do we handle it? Have you dealt with something like this before?
So I guess the short answer to that question is I don't want you guys out there handling these projects. Okay. You're going to be working within the way that I do it, where there's going to be steps that you're following, but you guys are not going to be out on a job site like swinging hammers or anything like that. Okay. I absolutely want you guys to know that, if something like life, massive tragedy or some kind of huge disruption happens, especially if you're just getting into this, then, we can work through all that. But I want you guys to get this, like, this is not a thing where you're going to be out doing the work in the sense of finishing the projects or making the deals happen. It's more like start off by generating the lead, right? Just like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get a lead on the table, we start moving it down the conveyor belt, and I show you guys, now this is what we do now. Now this is why we make this offer. This is what this looks like, and we just kind of keep on moving it down the line. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
no, absolutely, for sure.
I think maybe if you were saying like, what if someone pays and they join and then they decide they don't want to do this? Well, that's a different thing. But if like, if you get hit by a bus and and your family needs the money, well, either take somebody from the family and put them to work with me, or, if it's really that big of a deal, like I'll look and see what we can do. But I guess I can't prevent life from happening.
Right,
so,
for sure.
For sure.
I like that.
I like, Peter says this, I actually completely forgot. Peter says, thanks, John. Thank you for helping my first flip. Even if I didn't say that enough, I completely forgot that I helped Peter and his wife, really lovely lady. They actually did their first flip. I believe, Peter, now that you said this, I believe you guys flipped a mobile home in a mobile home park. So, and they actually did go out and they were doing work and they were meeting with contractors and all that stuff. So, but yeah, no problem, Peter. I'm glad you guys did it. And it was exciting to see that little bit of feedback there. What else, Naveen? Are we done? We want to wrap things up, or?
Yeah, I think most of the things that have popped into my head have been answered. I mean, as you've talked, more questions have come up, but then you'll end up answering them, talking to them, or something like that will happen. Peggy says, "Sell it." I wonder what is
Peggy, we don't know what you mean. Sell what? I don't know. Maybe she can elaborate on that. I looked at my note here, and I'm glad I wrote it down because I'm actually pulling up. I had my transaction coordinator pull up my list of transactions that I closed in 2024. And I want to say this real quickly, so you guys are still with me. Appreciate you. First of all, thank you for hanging out with me. It's been almost 2 hours now. You guys are crazy. But 2024 was a tough year for me personally and my family. Big move, a lot of things changed in our life. And I haven't disclosed this to a lot of people, but it's important. It's important in what I'm about to say. I did zero outbound marketing in 2024 for my real estate business, like zero, none. I closed 8 transactions. Okay. And I think it's important to kind of let that set in. I made no appointments. I didn't do any of these things that I've done with, like I'm talking to you guys and that I'm starting to do here in Boise. I shouldn't say that because at the end of the year, like I said, I started making a couple of appointments, but here locally. But the point is, I closed 8 deals from previous relationships that I already had with these types of sources. Without doing any meetings, without doing any of that stuff, I still closed 8 deals. And I mentioned a minute ago about your average. What did I say? Maybe put it in the chat. What's the average wholesale transaction fee? You guys drop it in the comments real quick. Just let me know. We're almost done. What did I say is the average? Just put it in there real quick. Average wholesale fee. Like if you just a wholesaler. Yeah, 10K. Okay. So I'm pulling up right here, right now. One of my, here's my, this is what I wanted to show you guys. So, I don't want to disclose all those addresses. So I'm trying to figure out a way to show you guys this without, so this is my spreadsheet. I'm going to switch real quickly. And it's a spreadsheet that I had for, some of my transactions. Not all of them were big ones. In fact, that actually should say 2,500, not 2.5. So that was not a big transaction. But here's the one that that one right there that says $30,150. Okay. That transaction, that's one wholesale deal that I did with one of my senior clients. Okay. See that right there? $30,150. Now there's one above it for $8,372. Okay, so when we say $10,000 is your average wholesale fee, yeah,
it's gonna
absolutely,
fluctuate. It's gonna average out.
It's gonna fluctuate. But in the Portland market, I have found, especially some of the higher markets, Boise is also one. Your wholesale fees are typically much more than $10,000. Now I can't promise that. But what I'm saying is, how many $30,000 deals would it take to pay back your investment? which if I had to go out and learn all this stuff and I could just pay someone to learn it, and it was $25,000 and I could learn it, and then I went out and closed a $30,000 deal, I'd be like, well, I think I just paid for, that was worth it, right?
Right.
One transaction. So I want to tell you guys this, that the investment on the front end is, in my humble opinion, is cheap. Okay. And I mean it when I say it, it's only $25,000. Does that make sense? Now, for some of you, you're sitting there going, what are you talking about? Only $25,000. I don't have that. You don't have it yet. If you will change your mindset, if you'll go figure it out, I promise you there's a way to get the money. How do I know that? Because I have personally done it multiple times. You feel me?
I'm with you. I'm definitely here with you for sure.
So I just want you guys to understand that you can do this. Peter says 2 is 50-50. I'm not quite sure what he's referring to.
Meaning start a partnership.
Oh yeah, there you go. Two deals, 50-50, and you're done, right? Now you're back in the black, right? So if you guys have any other questions, let me know here in the chat. I want to do this before we jump off real quickly. There is a link that I'm going to drop into. Whoa, I'm going to switch back to Naveen because that got crazy for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to drop this link in here. You guys can copy and paste it, and then I'm going to also put it on the screen here behind me. But if you guys are interested in seeing if you qualify, okay, and I mean seeing if you qualify, you need to go to that link that's there in the chat. You guys can click on that. That's going to take you to a lead qualification sheet. So you guys are going to become my leads, okay? Leads for seeing if you can actually be a part of the Legacy Leads group, okay? So you guys go through there, jump in, and you guys can actually, go through the questions. I have a very detailed questionnaire. Please fulfill it or fill it all the way out, because I don't want, basically, I don't want to be looking to work with tire kickers. If you guys are serious, then you're going to answer the questions. Answer them honestly, right? Obviously, don't put down what you think I want you to say. Answer the questions honestly. And if you're not in a spot right now where you can do this, I totally understand. But don't think that it's over for you and, oh, I can never do that. Believe me, I remember being where you're at, especially for just getting started. There was a question. I think somebody asked a question about, did you say someone asked you a question about payments, if there's an option for different payment structure? Or was I telling somebody else about that?
Yeah, I don't think we talked about if there was an option for payment structure, like what the payment structure looks like for people who need to make payments.
Yeah. So to kind of speak to some of you that have asked about a payment structure, can I do some kind of a payment structure? Yes, I can do that. Here's where we run into a little bit of an issue with a payment type of a structure. If you guys have like a payment plan where it's like, hey, I'm going to have a little bit of money, I'm closing a deal and I've got money, this year, and I'm going to have the next bit of money in a little bit. That's totally doable. If we get into where we're spreading out payments over the course of a year, then we run into a little bit of trouble, because I'm basically going to be showing anybody that's involved in this right out of the gate, some of the things you need to do, because what do we have to start with? We got to start with leads, right? Lead generation is one of the biggest parts of this entire course, right? Showing you guys how to do this, it's going to change the way you look at leads. So I have to remember that, to be fair to everybody that's jumping in, like Naveen's already in, right? He's already in the thing, he's doing it. And if I bring somebody in, I'm like, hey, he's just going to make payments for a while. Well, you make a couple payments, you learn the stuff, and then I can't, I'm not here to babysit. If you guys are grown-ups, if you don't want to be an adult, if you don't want to do things honestly, then someone could easily grab a hold of some of the information and then just bounce out and start doing their own thing. Now, I'm personally not too worried about that, because of the fact that I know this industry well enough. If you're not a person of integrity, eventually be sure you'll be found out, okay? But having said that, it's not fair to Naveen. If somebody paid to be in and then someone else is making payments and then they don't finish, well, it's really not fair to the people that paid. So Peggy says, I paid over $150,000 for the last 8 years. Peggy, me too. I've paid in the last, I added up, in the last 10 years, I've spent close to $170,000 in mentorship and in education. It's on average $17,000 a year. I have made literally millions of dollars in learning how to do the things I paid $17,000 a year for. So if someone says, hey, was it worth 17 grand a year for the last 10 years? I can't believe you'd pay that, John. Guys, listen, I did one transaction in 2017, one transaction. My payday on it was $350,000. Okay. I flipped an apartment complex. So, John George has a great question. What do I think the time commitment will be? It's kind of like everything else, John, how much time you want to put into it, right? Because these particular leads, there's one group of connections or relationships that you have to cultivate during the day, and then I'm going to show you guys another group that you can cultivate in the evening with particular events and meetups that you go to that are the least, put it this way, it's not sexy, it's not flashy. You're not going to be up there taking pictures. There's not going to be bouncing music and all that stuff. It's a very interesting group of people that you can meet with, and you get in this group and you just, everyone's doing intros and you say, oh, hi, I'm, John, I'm new to this community. This is what I do. I'd love to talk to you guys if you have any questions about it afterwards. And I guarantee you'll have 2 or 3 people lined up wanting to talk to you. So that particular group is things that go on in the evenings. How many of those do you want to go to in a week, John? How many appointments do you want to set during the day? Right. So if someone says, I just want to do it, once a week. Okay, well then it's going to take you longer to build out those relationships. But yeah, like I said, one relationship could turn out to be 10 deals a year. I'm using 10 because I know based on the averages and everything.
And you have no idea what the value of those deals will be.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because one could be 10,000, one could be 8,000, one could be 30,000. I've had transactions where the seller was happy with what they got. Everybody got paid. I even involved a realtor. They got paid, and I walked away with $30,000, $45,000. I mean, not once or twice, like over and over and over again. So these types of deals are out there. They're everywhere. If you guys want to learn more about that, then you need to jump in because we're going to be, I think I'm going to go till like maybe Saturday, and then I'm going to close this down so I can start working with a group of people that are signed up. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. I do have, let me see if I can put it up here real quickly while we're.
Question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
That. Does that mean for people?
We're still here, guys. If you can hear me, don't worry. I just put that up there on the screen. But go ahead, Naveen.
For people who might be wondering, does that mean that on the date that you close the entry, that if there's someone who is trying to work out some kind of a payment situation with you, will all of the amount be due at that time, or will that be like a separate conversation or that kind of thing?
So maybe rephrase that again real quickly. For the people that want to do payments, by the way, I got a little bit distracted, so I apologize.
No, that's fine.
So,
for the people that want to do payments, however you're going to negotiate that, does that mean that Saturday when you close entry, that all of their payment amount will be due then?
Oh, no. I'm not taking any money right now. So just so you know, I mean, sorry, Naveen.
No,
you're already in it, but I'm not looking, we're not soliciting. If you guys are trying to send me money right now, just stop because I'm not looking to take money right now. What I'm looking for is people that are interested in this, and you obviously know the price. Now, if we have to work something out with the payment structure, we can work that out. But really what I'm looking for right now is I'm just looking to see if you guys want to be a part of this, go to the QR code, go to the link there, and actually fill out the form to see if you qualify to work with me in this group. It's a very, very small group, very limited opportunity, and I want to be very careful with who I'm bringing in. Based on how people, the people that fill that out, I'm going to be going through everything. I'm going to call back to people that I believe are a good fit for this. And then at that point, they would be required to put a deposit down before we have our first call. So this is still a little bit of work in progress, but the projection right now is to have some kind of an in-person meetup with anybody that's a part of this in Portland, in the Portland Hillsboro area, sometime in the third week of this month. So right now, at the time of this recording, we're doing, it's the first week of March. In about 2 weeks, we're going to actually have an in-person event, and I'm going to just introduce you guys to some of the initial concepts that you need to know to get started. And then we'll start doing like scheduling out actually side by side like you and I did. We're going to start doing that in Portland. So this is a very unique thing. It's not like your typical program, pay the money right now, hurry, it's almost over. And then you get access to a bunch of modules and you start watching, and then, your Facebook group, and now this, like, we're not doing that. I am personally going to be training, just like I've done with you, anybody that's a part of this. Now we're gonna have weekly Zoom calls. We're gonna have a Facebook community. So it's not like we're not gonna have that stuff. We're gonna have modules in there, recordings of stuff. But as far as right now, I'm not trying to get anybody to sign up. I just want to know, do I have some people out there that are interested in this? I think there are. If there's not, no harm, no foul. Man, I go back to work and I just get busy with it. But if you guys want to be a part of this with me, then you have to fill out the form to see if you qualify. And then we actually work from there to an actual discovery call where we find out about, are you paying in a lump sum? Are you making a payment plan? And that kind of thing. So does that make sense?
Yes, sir. And there you have it.
Yeah. So we're getting toward the end of this. We got to start winding it down. I think we've tried to a couple times. Oh, this is actually a really great question. We got to end with this before.
Peter's question?
Yeah, Peter's question is really, really good. That's a very valid question, and I'm glad you asked, Peter. So I'm going to post Peter's question here. Peter said, how much money is expected to spend running the business per month, buy ads, leads, etc.? Okay. Thank you, Peter, for asking that question. There is no buying ads. There's no more buying leads. This is literally the lead generation source. What I'm going to show you guys, just like I showed Naveen yesterday, is how to create an endless inflow of leads that come from these particular relationships. So that's one of the things we advertised when we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago. No more social media, no more buying ad spend, none of that. You're going to take all that stuff, put it in a big black trash bag, and go dump it. Okay, now if you want to do that stuff, that's fine. Okay, if you're just like, I love getting cussed out, I love making cold calls, I love being threatened with lawsuits because I texted a number that is
you made the water
is on the do not call list. Yeah, sure, I love all that. If you guys want to do that, go ahead. But this particular approach means you don't ever have to pay for any lead generation again. And that is not an overstatement. That is not an exaggeration. Once you guys see this, you're going to realize that alone is worth, let's just say you spent $2,000 a month in ad spend, right? Well, dude, there's almost $50,000 in 1 year that you spend just in ad spend. So this takes away all of the expense for paying for advertisements and gives you a very simple process with a very unique group of people that you connect with those people, and these leads come in consistently from the same relationship. Okay. And again, I'm going to be going into more of that in actual training. But believe me when I say this, guys, again, I made no new relationships last year, but I closed 8 deals from previous relationships that I had made. Okay. So again, guys, appreciate your time. I really, really appreciate it. If you guys got value out of this, give me a thumbs up in the chat. At least let me know, hey, John, we hung out with you and we learned something tonight. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you guys got any value out of this. I really, really appreciate you guys hanging on with us. If you don't want to, to be a part of this, that's totally fine. But we got a couple of folks that are saying, hey, I'm filling out the form right now. Thank you. Appreciate that. If you got value, give me a thumbs up. Give me a big, I don't know, way to go, Naveen. But the QR code is there on the screen. You guys take a screenshot of that. Take a picture. But I do want to just emphasize, we're going to be closing down this thing so we can start actually training with folks here not too long. And I want you guys to understand that that I am super excited about this, but I don't. I hate to put it this way, I don't have to sell, coaching to anybody. Like I just said, hey, I'm going to do this. What am I going to do for my group this year that makes it possible for people to actually get a win? And this is something that I thought, okay, well, I've been doing this myself. Let's just put it out there and see if anybody wants to do it with us. And if you don't, that's fine. But if you do, all right. So Naveen, you're going to be hanging out with us. And once we get into the training, you're going to be doing some of that mindset stuff inside our group, right?
Absolutely.
Did you have a good time teaching all that stuff at the proximity event?
It was one of the funnest things I've done in a long time, because I teach a lot, on Zoom and coaching, but the environment is a lot different, sitting in a room and being able to just give a piece of my heart to people. And, and so I'm ecstatic to be able to kind of do that again with some of you all. Hopefully some familiar faces.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it will be. So, okay, guys, appreciate you all. Love you. God bless. If you have any questions, make sure you DM me. And there's the screen one more time. We're going to close this out, but appreciate you all hanging out. Spread the word if you think this is valuable to somebody. Maybe find a JV partner to connect with and get that thing going, because we're going to be closing down this application form. And we're really 2 different ways, either by the end of the week or if we have, 3-4 people sign up, then we're closing it down because we want to keep it very small group. So, all right, guys, God bless. Take care. See you soon.